Welcome back, everybody. We are going to be hitting some super basic stuff that we covered last semester. Basically, we're going to try and cover like a concept a day. And so we're about to tackle these 27 questions. It might seem like a ton, but it will not hopefully feel that way in the end. So first question is, what are integers? Well, they are basically whole numbers and their negatives. So if you're not sure what I mean, well, let's start by labeling some whole numbers. Like 0 is a whole number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are positive whole numbers. Okay, so now their negatives would be like -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. You get the idea. These are the negatives. Okay, so these are examples of integers. All right, and you might think, well, isn't that one concept right there? No, we hopefully already knew that. You just might have not been crystal clear on the vocabulary, because we don't always refer to them as integers. But hey, you should know an integer is basically whole numbers and their negatives. So right here, the thing I like about math is that it interacts with English, and then we get some meaning out of it, right? So like a $15 tax, I think that would be -15, right? Because you are going to have to lose $15. A $12 refund, well, if you are, the store, that means you were given $12 and then you were giving back $12. But if you are the person, well, then you feel like it's a positive 12. So I'm going to answer that either way. A withdrawal, a $32 withdrawal is your account feels $32 leaving it. And when I say leaving, I mean subtracting from it. A 21-pound loss, I can't think of a reason why it would possibly be positive. 340 feet underwater, again, I can't think of how that would be positive. A $135 commission. If you sell something off the TikTok shop, you're promoting a card game or whatever, I don't know. There's a pack of cards on my table. You make money. That would be positive. Now, this last one is quite weird. These last two are kind of weird because I'll just put it this way. I think this is like +2 because I'm thinking like NASA, and I'm thinking, okay, launch happens at 0, and 1 minute before launch is -1, and 2 minutes before launch is -2, and so 1 minute after launch and 2 minutes after launch. But if you were to tell me it's -2, I'm not going to argue with you, because this one is kind of weird-ish, right? And then this one, if I were to not talk about checks and I were to be like, hey, you Venmo'd me instead. So if you Venmo me $5, then that's +5 for me. But if you Venmo someone $5, that's -5 for you. And so it's kind of the same way when you write a check. If you're receiving it, you get $5. If you're writing it, you lose $5. Anyway, sorry that old people do math. Absolute value. We did this in our warm-up. And if you were like, well, I wasn't here for the warm-up, it was on IXL. We did a warm-up. And what they did is they had a number line, and they would just pick a random location. Well, I mean, it wasn't random. And they would say, okay, what's the distance from 0? Well, it would be 6. And then the literal next question on the same exact screen is, what's the absolute value of -6? Well, guess what? It's 6. And if you're like, well, where did they get the -6 from? Right here. So this and this both give 6 as the answer. So when it comes to absolute value, it is the distance from 0. Okay? That's what's important about it. Now, the notation, basically how we write it. If we were going to write something that reads the absolute value of x, it would look like this right here. You ready? look like this. The absolute value of x. That right there is that right there. Those are the same things. Now, when it says to evaluate each expression, you might be tempted to just say, these absolute value bars, they just make everything positive. And you wouldn't be terribly wrong, but just do remember that the idea is it's the distance from zero. So if you were 100 feet on that side of this thing, you're 100 feet away. If you're 100 feet in that direction, and let's say that would be the negative direction, well, then you're still 100 feet away. So I'm answering these very quickly because it essentially does make them positive. But again, it goes back to this concept right here, okay? Down here, we are going to reorder these from least to greatest. It doesn't have anything to do with absolute value. It does have to do with the value because we want the smallest number first. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start reading through these, and I see there's -6. Is there any number smaller than -6 here? I don't think so. So we'll do that is the least, and I'm going to cross it off. And then let's see, -4 after that, -3 after that, -1, 0, 2, and 5. 0, 2, 5. I don't think you're really going to have any problem with that. It's good to just do that little rehearsal, little practice, because part of dealing with integers is just being able to think about them as, these are negative and these are positive. And, you know what? The distance between them, when it comes to being negative, that's a little bit of something that, maybe you're not used to because it's been Christmas break, but maybe you're not used to because you didn't really think through that previously. I don't know. So again, -21, the smallest one. I think -14 next, -13 next. Let's see, -12, -8, and then 15. This last one. You know what? There's 32. It's the largest. We could go ahead and write him over there because we do want to end with the greatest. In fact, here, why don't we just go down from there? 22. And then 19. And then, wow, we make a big jump. -16. -20. -30. Okay. Lastly on this is now, again, thinking about the ordering of the numbers, but we're kind of putting it a little bit together and also talking about inequalities. So an inequality, if you're like, I don't know what that is. So there is less than. And then, of course, the other one immediately is greater than, right? And then we have less than or equal to because of this little part right down here. And then same thing with this one. This is greater than or equal to because of that line underneath it right there. I am still a fan of pretending that these are little crocodiles. And little crocodiles, they want to eat big meals, right? So what this story is telling me, and if you don't see that as a story, that's okay. How I see it is this is a story of over here is a plate of only 3 chicken nuggets, and over here is a plate with many, many chicken nuggets. And so the crocodile is obviously looking over here going, I'm eating this, right? Because it's way bigger. And this story then is this side is less than this side, okay? So let's zoom back up to here and do these kind of individually. A negative number is obviously less than 5. 25, a positive number, is obviously greater than a negative number. 10, a positive number, is greater than -26. All right, here's our first little challenge. And if you try to think of this in terms of the crocodile, this is like the crocodile. He kind of pukes up 8 chicken nuggets, and this one is he pukes 3. So his belly will be fuller if he chooses this scenario. And I know that seems kind of weird. So here's another scenario. What if you're on a game show and there is door number 1 and there's door number 2. These are little handles. And you're going to have to decide which door you want. But okay, you open up this door and you find out that they're going to steal $3 from you. Okay, that seems awful to open up that door and they steal $3. But how about over here? You open the door and they're going to steal $12 from you. Well, I think the choice is pretty easy. I would much rather choose this scenario where I'm losing the least amount of money, right? So that's what happened here, is losing $3 is much preferable to losing $8. Same thing with like insults. Since we talked about insults once upon a time. Would you rather receive 3 insults or 8 insults? Well, yes, I'd rather receive this one. So, okay, chicken nuggets, insults, money. This is nothing new to us. Oh, look, an absolute value. Technically, we need to simplify this before we make the decision. But let's be honest, this is a pretty easy simplification. We could make it in our head. 13 is bigger than negative 25. So if you don't go ahead and write that out, I wouldn't be mad at you, okay? Same thing with 25. We're pretty sure that 2 is less than the absolute value of negative 7, because that's negative 2 and that's 7. The absolute value of 8 is 8. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. 8 is greater than 3. 9 is greater than 6. So there you have it. The first review of the semester. Let me know what questions you got. See ya.